Happy New Year, everybody. My name is Al Mina, faceconomics author. This is our very first podcast in this year, January the 2nd. Our faceconomics podcast is where we talk about economic development posted on social media worldwide. So, this would cover economic development agendas as well as how the social media platform is being utilized to advance growth in markets worldwide and how entrepreneurs are advancing with their strategy to penetrate most markets that are very difficult to penetrate or enter using social media. Thank you for joining me. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone around the world. I'm currently broadcasting from the East Coast. As you all know, I was a former U.S. Senate candidate in last November's election of 2020. So, currently in the East Coast, just waiting for things to improve regarding the pandemic and how markets around the world are reacting to it, and how they're becoming more flexible and just basically learning to adjust to the new world marketplace. Uh, and that's also relevant here in the U.S. as our government and various systems are being revamped or at some degree being looked at by various entities, may be local government, state, or federal government, uh, and try to find a strategy to you know uh, provide solutions to the needs of over 400 million inhabitants of the United States. 400 million people plus, folks. So, speaking of which, I want to talk about some of the things that has been lingering in the hearts and minds of many Americans that are currently going through, economic hardship. Some of them have lost their jobs because of the pandemic, and some have been, unable to find employment due to the COVID-19 situation. So I kind of want to reflect on, the economic, um, crisis within the U.S. and how people are trying to just find a way to survive, given that most of Americans right now that are unemployed or underemployed, and the ones that are also struggling to find employment, have never thought about before that they would have to deal with this kind of situation at this point in their lives. So, as a former federal government, employee, and I happen to be, you know, employee that looked into various federal government funding. As a GS-12, I was a financial analyst, and I had, my role was to basically account for, review financial reports, as well audit benefactors of federal government grants and taxpayers' money. So I've seen a lot of fraud, waste, and abuse, and that brings me to this issue with the check, the relief check that people desperately need. It's not just the wealthy, or as some of the decision makers up in Washington are talking about. The only people that would benefit are the wealthy. Actually, that's far from the truth in terms of the actual number of the population that will benefit from a $2,000 stimulus check versus a $600 type of well, I guess you can consider it as some sort of donation, which is really shouldn't be seen as that. But to those people that are struggling, they could absolutely use $2,000 or more in financial relief. Imagine people those are that are having to make payments on their cars and rent payments, mortgage payments, people that are taking care of elderly parents, you know, family members that are not in the best health conditions, family, um, parents of children that are in need, may it be special needs for resources or just to be able to, upkeep their homes. So I'm really kind of baffled that it's taking months upon months to get, you know, um, some help out to majority of the middle class, which is also depleting within our country. The middle class population within America is struggling big time. So, um, we're hoping that one way or the other that both the Democratic and Republican Party would unite and find a way to just put their differences aside and help those that are struggling among our population. Yes, I agree that some of the wealthier population will benefit from a stimulus package, but um, there are a small number of people that will be able to benefit within that bracket, within the upper class. Members of the community majority that will benefit with a $2,000 stimulus, check will be the middle class and the lower middle class, and even, the lower class that, are only making no more than 12 grand to 24 grand a year. And imagine people that aren't working. So if they're making 24 grand a year and they're not working and they haven't been working for many months, imagine how much of their, reserve or savings is left for them to utilize. So, my background is in accounting, financial analyst, economic development and trade, and as an economic developer and someone that have traveled in various countries to learn and research various agendas in economic development. I think in the U.S. we need to start thinking about the long-term game plan, the long-term you know type of strategy that we should have as a country towards economic development and competitiveness. Um, Unfortunately, there's a lot of short-sighted people out there that don't really think about the future, and some of the people that are making decisions right now um, are basically majoring on minor things that won't matter within the next couple decade or even shorter than that. So I mean, if your fellow American is going through adverse economic hardship, I think that would be a priority. That would be something that you would want to find a solution to, rather than politicizing things. I run as an independent candidate just for the sole reason that a lot of people tend to politicize you know agendas and crisis and various you know old type of grudges that they held for so many years, and trying to get back at people. Grudges is never good when you're leading, when you're having to set up a strategy for a community and for a population. It's never good to have grudges because it muddles your judgment. It really affects the way that you make decision as a decision maker. So having said that, I think we should all come together as Americans regarding regardless of your background. Having to grow up in an immigrant, a legal immigrant family. I've seen, what it's like to struggle when both of your parents aren't making enough to, put food on the table and keep power on. So, electricity and water utility bills tend to rack up, especially, the last couple of months. Imagine people that are struggling, without the pandemic, and then you incorporate this crisis that's been ongoing for several months. Imagine the situation that they're having to deal with. So, I implore that everybody would kind of think about other people rather than yourselves in this such you know terrible um, you know event that's been going on around the world with the pandemic. So having said that, my name is Al Mina. I'm the author of the Face Economics concept and book, and this is our Face Economics podcast where we talk about economic development, posted on social media worldwide. As a former U.S. Peace Corps volunteer, um, I've seen firsthand how social media is being utilized um, to help encourage growth in various countries and build their economy and capacity. Not just locally but throughout the country in various emerging and frontier markets. And it won't hurt us here in America if we start to utilize the social media platform to advance our economic potential and be able to also create a strategy, down the road. We're now in the fourth industrial revolution where man and machine coincides on a regular basis. So our strategy should be incorporated within the realm of, how can we, compete and utilize, modern day technology in order to advance our economy, financial competitiveness, and viability, and also how to help our citizenry to learn to, create opportunities for themselves. With that said, I appreciate you taking the time to join me in today's uh, first of the year podcast with the Face Economics podcast in January the 2nd, which happens to be my birthday as well. So, thank you for joining me. I appreciate your time. I look forward to speaking with you again on our next podcast. This is Al Mina with the Face Economics podcast. Thank you for your time. Bye bye.